Hello, everyone. How are you? I will not keep you from your lunch. But before I sing, I just want to share a few things with you, just to sort of explain why I'm doing the type of music I'm doing here for you today. I love all types of music. I do all types of music. I do jazz, William mentioned. Write my own music. We do a lot of stuff with worship music in church. But just want to ask you a quick question. I wonder if you ever thought that you could actually change the course of nations in history through just what happens at your dinner table on a weekday evening. Anyone ever thought about that? No. I grew up in one of the best cultures, I think, to ever grow up in, African American culture in the States. It is something to behold. I used to love bringing home friends from university for like Thanksgiving and Christmas so they can see for themselves how absolutely amazing and outrageous our culture is. But one of the things that was really important in African American culture was the dinner table, okay? Every week, maybe on a Sunday, you would go down to Granny's house or to an auntie's house, and definitely on Thanksgiving and Easter and Mother's Day and Christmas. And you would sit around this massive table, and on the table would be so much food, people, that it was ridiculous. You could have eaten off of it for 2 weeks, and we did. We sat around for an entire day. We would get full. We'd go back and eat again. But the best part of this table, the food would change, whose table it was would change, but the thing that wouldn't change is that for the entire time, from the time you walked in the door to the time your mother tried to drag you out, they told stories. It was just story time. And I remember as a kid, the kids don't really get to tell stories. You get to listen. But that was the best part, because I remember as a kid sitting there and watching your granny and your aunties and your uncles tell these amazing stories about their lives. They weren't made up stories. I mean, we're known to exaggerate in black cultures, but for the most part, they were true. And they would tell us these stories about their lives. And I don't know what you know about black culture in America, but we have an amazing story, amazing American story that goes back to when slave ships arrived on the coast, emptying hundreds of thousands of black slaves from Africa and the islands to America. 300 years of being enslaved, being treated poorly, and being told that you weren't worth a vote, to now having President Obama in the White House. It's just you can imagine the amount of stories your aunties and your mom and your granny have to tell about their experience. And what was really cool about my family is a big civil rights family. So my grandmother marched with Dr. King. She was actually one of the people that they recognized in our governor's mansion a few years back as one of our leading civil rights activists in my state. And that's something we were proud of. But we'd hear these stories. One of them my mother would tell of being a tiny girl. She was maybe 8, not more than 8. And during her summers, they didn't get to go out and play and go to summer camp. They had to register people to vote. That was her job. So her job was to read the voting criteria to these older African-American people who did not know how to read and get them registered to vote. That's what she did. But they took a wee break. All the kids who were there took a break, and they thought they heard a parade going on. So they ran up this hill, trying to get to the parade. And my mom, by her own admission, was a little chubby kid who didn't run very fast, and so she was last. And by the time she almost got to parade, all the kids were running back. They were screaming, they were crying, running back. And so she started running back. And she looked over, and this little girl, her same age, was bleeding from her back. And what they realized when they got to the house is that the parade that they were running towards was not actually a parade, it was a KKK rally. And that one of the adults there got so incensed at seeing a black child that they stabbed her in the back. Powerful stories of what people went through so that I could have what I have today. We would hear stories of our parents getting locked in jail for peaceful protests, and they were proud of it too. They were so proud. And some of these stories, guys, we heard probably a dozen times, but we love them. We loved hearing them again and again and again. And as children, we didn't really know why we loved them, but we loved dinner time at the table when the stories were being told. This song I want to sing to you is one of those songs that just embodies the story of Black people in America, the story of hope that was injured, that was laid out but never quite died, that things could be better than they are today, that it could be better for their children than it was for them. And this was one of those songs that was sung around that time. I was born by the river in a little tent, and oh, just like the river I've been running ever since. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change is gonna come. Oh, yes it is. It's been too hard living, but I am afraid to die, 'cause I don't know what's out there beyond the sky. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change is gonna come. Oh, yes it is. Then I said to my brother, I said, brother, would you help me please? He said, I like to, I really like to, yeah. But when I looked around, I was right back down on my knees. Oh, there were times when I thought I wouldn't last for long. But somehow, I think I'm able to carry on. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change is gonna come. Oh, yes it is. Did you know that you could change the course of history just by what happens at your dinner table? When we were at that dinner table as kids, it wasn't just stories that we were getting. We were getting messages all the time. And the messages were something like, life isn't always lovely. It's not always fair, but life is good. And when you have life, you have a responsibility to do something really courageous, really difficult. When you have life, you have the responsibility to hope. Not just for yourself, but for the people that come after you. Because when you let hope die, you let the future die. When I was around that dinner table, I was taught how to hope. I was taught how to do bad days. I don't remember as a kid ever thinking that life was going to be rosy. Those stories taught me a completely different reality. But I remember thinking that I never had the right to give up hope. That if a people who had spent 300 years hoping for freedom, for basic rights, for acknowledgement. I remember as a kid looking at this black and white photo that my grandmother had of a grown man who had fathered children, had a wife, who was protesting and had a sandwich board on, and on the board it said very simply, I am a man. When someone who has to fight for their very right to be human doesn't give up hope, I learned at that dinner table that I'd never had a right not to hope. My husband and I used to live in Los Angeles. And Los Angeles is a hard city to live in sometimes. And I remember sitting in my apartment, just feeling that lack of hope, that not knowing where I was in life, where I was going, not knowing what the point was. And I remember the power of the story. And I remember how I learned to tell my story, so I started writing the song. To tell my story to myself, first of all, to remind myself that there is hope. But then for other people who may find themselves in a situation like this particular story is for you. Letting all of this go, letting all of me show, I've got nothing left to lose. I'm getting tired of the fight. Oh God, I need a place to hide. I've got a broken soul tonight. And the silence is so thick, it's filling up my life. It's coming from the crevices and sticking out the sides. And I'm left repeating all these lines, the questions plaguing my mind. Can you do what you say you can do? Take shattered dreams for me, yeah. So I'm letting all of this go. I'm letting all of me show. I got nothing left to lose. No, 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 no. I'm getting tired of the fight. God, I need a place to hide. I got this broken soul tonight, yeah, yeah. And the silence is so thick that it's filling up my life. It's coming from the crevices, oh, and spilling out the sides. And I'm late. I'll repeat these lines, these questions plaguing my mind. Can you do what you say you can do? Take shattered dreams and make them new. Can you be who you say you can be? A friend for me, a friend for me. Oh, yeah. Let it go. Just let it go, yeah. Just let it go. Oh, oh, da, 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 yeah, yeah, yeah. Thank you. To begin to change stories, change the course of lives, change the way you think about things and your family thinks about things, just by what you do at your dinner table tonight. Have a good one.